Hey guys, it's Alexandra from EyeLoveKnots.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super cute potted sunflower. In place of a pot, I'm using this vintage coffee mug that has some slight imperfections to it. I do have a shop where I sell vintage items, and I'll link that in the description below if you're interested. But when the items are not good enough to sell alone, then I like to upcycle them. So I have 3 of these mugs that have a lot of cracks or chips, and I'm going to be using these as the base for these sunflowers to sit in. And I'm going to show you how to make this sunflower to go inside. So I have used 2 different browns out of my stash, and mainly because I filmed the video with this dark brown and then I went back and edited and realized that you can't see any of the stitches on it, so the video wouldn't have been that helpful when I was showing stitch placements. So you're gonna see in the video I'm going back and forth between this dark brown color and this light brown color because I just sort of merged them together. But I'm using Red Heart Super Saver for my flowers. I have tons of this yarn in my stash. It's a great yarn for home projects. It's durable, especially for something like this. It's stiffer. If you do wash it before you use it, it will soften. And in that case, you may just want to add more rounds to the stem and more stuffing for extra stability. Or same thing if you were working with a softer yarn making your flowers. This yellow color is called Bright Yellow. This darker brown is Coffee. The lighter one is Cafe Latte. And the green is Tea Leaf Green. In addition to this worsted weight yarn, you're going to need some stuffing for the bottom of your plant as well as the stem. And if you want some extra stability, then you'll want some pipe cleaners as well for the stem. To go with this, I'm using an H8 5mm crochet hook. I've made this and worked the video showing how to make it for a cup that is my size, but I'm also explaining how you can make this for any cup that you have on hand. So the first thing I'll get into whenever we start is sizing your cup so you can make a base that fits inside of it. For that, you'll also need to have a soft tape measure on hand so you can stick it in your cup. Gauge is not terribly essential because we can measure as we go here, but you want to get the right sizing so that your base will fit into your cup. For my sunflower, it is a modified version of my Sunflower 2.0 if you're familiar with that. So it has the round one right there is exactly the same, and the textured part in the middle there. But I've added a layer to give it some more fullness, and then I've added another layer on the back that's just going to give it a clean finish, and it's going to prevent your flower petals on the front from curling forward. So you don't need to block your flower unless you want to. The leaves, they do curl in. You can finger press them out and they stay. There's a couple different techniques that I'm going to show you in this flower. I'm going to show you joining as you go whenever we add the back piece of the flower to the front of the flower. I'm also going to show you a join as you go method called pull loop through to attach the bottom piece to the top piece. This one is really easy to omit if you just want to make 2 pieces and whip stitch them together. There are 2 ways that you can do the base. I have only shown how to do it with double crochets on the top, but if you do it with half double crochets on the top, same exact pattern, just work it in half double crochets, it hides the stuffing better and it gives a less puffy base. So you can see that this one on the right is extra puffy and tall. That one is worked in double crochet. The one on the left is worked in half double crochet. and you can unfortunately see my stuffing a little bit more on the double crochet one. So it just depends on the look that you want. I like the half double crochet look, but I did show the tutorial with the double crochet look, and that's just the top piece here. So completely up to you. I did see recently on Instagram that now there is dark polyfill stuffing, so you might be interested in looking for some of that. I used white. In the base, it's going to be covered with a pot or a cup or anything that you want to stick it into, so you won't even see that. You'll just see whatever's on the top, and it's only slight, so I'm not even worried about it at all. I'm so happy with how these little flowers came out. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here's the cup that I'm going to be using for my plant, and it kind of gives me a fall vibe, so that's why I picked the sunflower. A lot of cups vary in size, so you can custom make your piece to fit the cup that you have, or planter, or whatever you have that you want to use. So I put my tape measure in there, and I measure the diameter across the bottom, and for my cup it's 2.5 inches. So when I create my piece, I just want the diameter before I stop increasing to be 2.5 inches. Then we have to measure across the top because the diameter changes. And so up here, my diameter inside the cup is just about 3 inches. So I need to reach a diameter at the bottom of about 2.5 inches. And then I need to increase at the top so that it's about 3 inches. So if you're using a different size cup, it's the same exact process. You just want to make a flat circle that measures the diameter of the bottom of your cup, and then increase evenly so that along the top it measures the diameter of the top opening. I'm going to show you how to work this base to fit my cup, and you just adjust it to fit your pieces. This is a vintage cup, so I would imagine that my instructions may work for other vintage cups as well. I'm going to start with a slip knot, so I'm pulling the yarn over my fingers, wrap it around my index finger 2 times, hold the tension with my thumb and my middle finger, pull the loop on the left up over the other one but not off my finger, pull the loop on the left now up over the other one and off my finger, insert my crochet hook into the loop on my finger and pull it off. Holding the working yarn in my right hand, short tail end in my left, I'm going to pull that up to normal tension. The base is worked in 2 pieces. It's worked from the bottom up, and then a top piece is worked and they're attached. And the reason I don't do one piece and just decrease on the top is because the decreases create holes on the top that you can sometimes see the stuffing through. So I like it better to work 2 pieces and then attach them together. To chain, we're going to yarn over and pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. That gives us 3. I want 4. Then we're going to slip stitch join to the first chain to form a ring. So we go all the way back down to the very first chain that we worked there. Insert our hook directly into the center. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and the loop that's on my hook. We're going to slip stitch at the end of each round to join. But here we have a ring right there that we can work our first round into. Chain 2, and we're going to work 10 double crochets into that center ring. You may notice a hole on the top. That's from where we slip stitch to. We don't want to work our stitches in there. We want to work into the hole below it, the center ring. To double crochet, we yarn over, insert our hook right into the center. When I do that, I'm going to pick up the chains on my hook as well as the tail end. Yarn over, pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert my hook back into the center ring. Yarn over, pull through. 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert my hook into the center ring, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. This is going to give us 3 double crochets here, and we can count that looking at the V-shaped stitches on the top. There's 1, 2, 3 stitches. I want to continue working until I have 10 double crochets worked, all into that center ring and all over the chain and the tail end, capturing both of those in your stitches. There's 10 double crochets. We're going to slip stitch join to the very first double crochet of the round, and if you're not sure exactly where that is, you can count your stitches backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Insert your hook under both loops of that stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch and the loop that's on your hook. That completes our slip stitch. And you can hold the fabric in your right hand, pull on the tail end with your left, and it'll close up that hole right there in the center, and we'll secure that later when we weave in our ends. If your cup measures differently than mine and you need to adjust this, you can work less stitches in the round. Instead of 10, maybe do 9. Or you can work more stitches. Instead of 10, maybe do 11 or maybe 12. That's going to either decrease or increase the diameter of this circle, which will do the same for the next round that we're about to work, which may help fit your cup a little bit better. So you might need to do some guess and check work. For round 2, we're going to increase. That means we're going to work multiple stitches into one stitch so that our circle gets larger but continues to lay flat. And if you're following instructions to make a cup the same size as mine, it's going to meet the diameter of the bottom of the cup. In my case, it's 2.5 inches. We start with a chain 2. And we work 2 double crochets into that very first stitch where our chain is coming out of. And then we continue working around 2 double crochets into each stitch. This is going to double the number of stitches that we had in the first round. So if you're following along with me, that means we'll have 20 double crochets when we finish this round. I've completed 20 double crochets, slip stitch join to the very first double crochet of the round, and round 2 is complete. And my circle isn't laying completely flat right now, but that's okay because it's going to go in the cup. It doesn't matter. It's not as essential as, say, like if you're working a beanie. As long as you have double the amount of stitches in the second round that you had in the first, you're good to go. Lay it down, take your soft tape measure, measure from the left side all the way across the center to the right side. My circle now measures 2.5 inches, and that's going to fit down in the bottom of my cup here. So I'm done increasing for now because this is what's going to work for the bottom of my cup. It does not need to be flush against the sides of the cup. So for example, mine looks a little tiny bit small. As you work the next couple rounds and when you add stuffing, it's gonna puff it out a little bit, so I'm not concerned. If it was significantly smaller, then I would suggest adjusting the pattern. But if it's pretty close, it's fine. If you do need to adjust it, then like I said, go back to that first one, take out a stitch or add a stitch, add 2 stitches, whatever you need to make it bigger or smaller. And if it's significant, then try going up or down a hook size. For round 3, to fit my cup, I'm just going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. So I'm going to start with a chain 2, double crochet into that very first stitch where my chain is coming out of, and then double crochet into each stitch. If you're following along with me, at the end of this round you'll have 20 double crochets, but if you've adjusted your number, then you'll just have the same number of stitches in this round that you had in round 2. There's my last double crochet, slip stitch join to the very first double crochet of the round. My work is taking on a bowl shape, that's what I want for this round. I'm going to flip it so the right side's facing out and the tail end is on the inside. Pull up a loop really quick. This is going to fit inside my cup, and it still looks a little bit small, but as soon as I work the next round, which I'm going to increase, it's going to fill in that space around and it's going to fit snug. For round 4, I want to increase from 20 double crochets to 30 double crochets. If you've altered your number, you're increasing here to whatever 3 times your first round is. So my first round was 10 stitches, this round will have 30. We're going to start with a chain 2, work 2 double crochets into that very first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And that's where our repeat begins. 2 double crochets into the very next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Continue this repeat all the way around, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch after that. When we get to the end over here, you'll finish on 1 double crochet and then we'll slip stitch join. There's the last double crochet of this round, slip stitch join to the very first double crochet, and now round 4 is complete. And I'll pull up a loop, and now when I put this in my cup, it's going to fit more snug. It's got a rounded bottom to fit the size of the cup, the shape of the cup, but now it fills in all that space all the way around. And now I just need to work a couple more rounds of evenly stitching so that it fills up the height in here. I just want it to be a little bit closer to the top, so I'm just going to work 2 more rounds. When you add the top piece, it will add a little bit of height and puffiness from the stuffing, so just keep that in mind. So for rounds 5 and 6, they're going to be worked exactly the same. Chain 2, double crochet into the first stitch, then double crochet into each stitch all the way around, and slip stitch join. Alrighty, I've worked 6 rounds in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And put it in my cup, press it down to fit the shape, and you can see it's not quite as tall as my cup, but I'm okay with that because once I add the top piece, it's going to add some height. So it's just close to the top. Now I'm going to fasten off. Then I'll pull up the loop to break it. Take my crochet hook, insert from the wrong side to the right side through the same stitch I just slip stitched to, yarn over and pull that tail end to the wrong side. If you're not sure on how this is going to fit, hold off on weaving your ends in case you need to make any changes. I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to work the top piece that's going to go on it. We make a slip knot, pull the yarn over our fingers, wrap it around my index finger 2 times, hold the tension with my thumb and my middle finger, pull the loop on the left up over the other one but not off my finger, then pull the loop on the left up over the other one and off my finger. Take my crochet hook, insert it into the loop on my finger, pull it off, hold the working yarn in my right hand and short tail into my left. I'm going to pull that to normal tension. I'm going to work this in a similar manner, but I'm going to alter the stitch placement so that it gives me a straighter seam, which will in turn make it not very noticeable on the finished piece. After we finish working up to the size that we need, I'm going to show you how to attach it to the top without having to fasten off your yarn first, without having to grab a tapestry needle and sew it on. I'm going to show you a join as you go type of method, but of course you can use your preferred method to do it as well. Whatever's the most comfortable for you. I'm going to start with a chain 4, slip stitch join to the first chain to form a ring, chain 2, hold my tail end up against my chains and work 10 double crochets into that center ring, the same exact way as we did before. There's 10 double crochets, slip stitch join to the first double crochet of the round. Hold my fabric in my right hand, pull the tail end in my left, and that will tighten up that hole in the center. We're going to work 2 more rounds here, just 3 rounds in total, but I'm going to work rounds 2 and 3 a little bit different. I want to split my beginning increases so that they're on either side of the beginning chain. And this is just going to help my seam to stay more straight and less noticeable, and without a gap in between the last stitch and the first stitch. We're going to begin with a chain 2. Now before we worked 2 double crochets into this first stitch, but because I'm splitting my beginning increase, I'm going to only work 1 double crochet in that first stitch. After I work all the way around and I finish over here, I'll work the very last stitch of that beginning increase in the stitch that's just to the right of the beginning chain 2. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working 2 double crochets into each stitch around, and when I get to the end I'm going to have 19 stitches, and then we'll work that last stitch in the very first stitch to the right of the beginning chain. Alright, there's 19 double crochets. I have just 1 more left that I need to work, and I'm going to do that in the very first stitch that is just to the right of the beginning chain 2. And that will complete my first increase of 2 stitches there. slip stitch join to the first stitch of the round. And round 2 is complete with 20 double crochets now. If you've adjusted your bottom piece because you needed it to be smaller or larger, do the same thing with this. Same number of stitches here as you had in round 2 of the base. Round 3 is going to be worked in a very similar manner. We're going to start with just 1 stitch there instead of 2 and finish it up at the end. But it's also going to differ because we're also going to join as you go to the base. If you're not sure it's going to fit in your cup and you're waiting to weave in your ends, then you can work this third round, do the join, put some stuffing in there, have your tail ends just hanging out, and check it in your cup. Then frog that last round, weave in all the ends, and then finish it off. If you're confident in the sizing for your cup, then I recommend you weave in your beginning tail end of this top piece now and the 2 ends from your base now, because you want that to be done before you completely seam it closed. So I have my tapestry needle. I'm going to turn the base to the wrong side, thread my tapestry needle. I'm starting with the center tail. I like to put my hand in the work, and I'm going to weave this in around all the way until I get back to the beginning, and then I'm going to work into 2 more stitches past that. This is the beginning. 2 more stitches there, and then I'm going to hold it in my left hand right over the ring and pull on that tail end. I want to tighten that ring up. That's going to count as my first pass here. I'm going to work 2 more passes to secure my end. 3 is my magic number. For the remaining ends, when I enter the stitch and when I exit the stitch, instead of picking up the whole entire stitch on my needle, I'm going to insert it right into the center, breaking it in half. I do that when I enter, and then I'm working down several stitches here, and I do that when I exit. And this is going to help capture my yarn. Rotate my fabric here, insert into a nearby stitch, breaking it in half. Work back through several of the stitches I just worked in, break my stitch upon exit, and give it a tug. Because this is going to be the inside of a stuffed piece, I'm not going to worry about fastening off my tail. I'm just going to leave it there. Here at the top where I fastened off, I'm going to work vertically through several stitches. I don't want to work horizontally because I don't want to prohibit any of the stretch. Same exact way, 3 passes, breaking my stitch in half when I enter and when I exit the stitches. This is my last pass. I'm just manipulating the fabric so it doesn't look all bunched up, and then holding it in my left hand and tugging. And I'll leave that in there as well. The top piece, center ring is worked the same as the base. Now I'm ready to work round 3. I'm going to flip this back to the right side facing, and I'm going to set this up so that the seam is on the back. So here is my beginning seam and the first double crochet that I worked right there to the left. I'm going to rotate it so that the seam is here at the top, like at 12 o'clock. Here on the top piece, I'm going to start with a chain 2. I need to increase in this top piece as well as work the pull loop through join. So there's 2 parts to this. I am going to split my beginning increase the same way as I did in round 2. So instead of working 2 stitches here, I'm just going to work 1 stitch in the very first stitch. After each double crochet, you pull loop through. So I'm going to pull up this loop so I don't lose it. I'm going to go to my base, and I want to find the stitch that's just to the right of my beginning chain. So there's the beginning chain. The stitch to the right, I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch from the right side to the wrong side. That is the stitch that is at 12 o'clock. Right next to the seam. That is going to correspond with this top piece. This chain 2 here is going to match up with that seam, and the double crochet I just worked into is going to match up with that stitch to the left that I just put my crochet hook in. Put the loop on my crochet hook, tighten it down to normal tension, and then pull it through the stitch of the base. And now those 2 pieces are connected. Double crochet into the next stitch of the top piece. Pull loop through. Pull up on that loop so you don't lose it. Go to the next stitch on the base, the stitch to the right. Insert into the stitch. Put the loop on your hook. Pull it back down to normal tension. Pull the loop through the base stitch. Now the repeat begins on the top piece. 2 stitches into the next stitch, 1 stitch into the next. 2 stitches into the next stitch, 1 stitch into the next. And we'll work that all the way around, but in between each stitch we're going to pull loop through to connect it to the base. So I'll work a double crochet into the next stitch of the top piece. Pull up on that loop so I don't lose it. I like to hold it here in my thumb and my index finger. Find the next stitch on the base, which is just to the right of where I worked. Insert into the stitch. Put the loop on my hook, tighten it back down to normal tension, and pull it through the stitch of the base. Double crochet into the same exact stitch on the top, because this is our increase. Pull up on the loop, hold the loop, remove my hook, insert it into the next stitch on the base, put the loop back on my hook, tighten it down to normal tension, and pull it through. Double crochet into the next stitch of the top piece, pull up on that loop, hold it, remove my hook, insert it into the next stitch of the base, put the loop back on my hook, tighten it down to normal tension, pull it through the base stitch. Repeat begins again here with 2 double crochets in the next stitch. The top piece, we are building it up to 30 stitches. The base already has 30 stitches, so for every stitch that you work on the top piece, there will be a corresponding stitch on the bottom piece. Again, if this method is confusing or you don't like how this is working up, you can just increase as normal for round 3, fasten off, and then sew on, maybe with a whip stitch. Just make sure as you're working around you're leaving room so you can put stuffing in there. So I'm just going to work a little bit more until I get closer to the end, leaving a gap that I can put some stuffing into. Alrighty, I'm going to pause here, push in that tail end, and start stuffing my piece. Just pulling up a loop here to make sure that that doesn't fall out. And I'm going to stuff it until I'm pretty close to it feeling full, and then I'm going to test it out in my cup. I know I have a little ways to go yet, I think, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in my cup to see how it fits. And there's still a bunch of space here at the top that I want to stuff, so I'm going to keep it in here while I continue to stuff. And now I'm going to work a couple more stitches, and then I'll put it back in my cup. There's one stitch left here that needs to be worked. Right now I have 29 stitches, so the next stitch will be the one that goes to the right of the beginning chain. I'm going to put this back in my cup. I still have a big enough hole that I can add more stuffing if I need to. I still need to add just a little bit more in here. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to just pull it out a little bit but leave it in the cup so it keeps that shape while I close it up here. Work that last stitch into the very first stitch, but just to the right of the beginning chain. Pull loop through. Then I'm going to slip stitch join here. I'm going to insert my hook into the very top chain of the beginning chain 2. So there's the first chain down here. I'm going to insert into the center of the top one. And then I'm going to insert into the next stitch just below where I'm working. Like super natural to just go below where I am. And complete a slip stitch. Then I'm going to pull up a loop so I don't lose it. And push that back down. It's super easy to take it out now and make some changes if you need to, if you need to add stuffing. Super puffy here. It's totally fine. I like it. I am happy with my little cup. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off this yarn here. Pull up on the loop to break it. And at some point I'll come back here and I will weave in my ends. I'm just going to leave it there for now. Push that down. And then I'm going to get started on the stem of my flower. One thing before I start the stem, I used to work the base up to where I need it and then decrease down and fasten off and weave in the center. The reason I don't do that anymore is because it shows the stuffing too much. It makes these large holes from the decreases that shows the stuffing. So that's why I add these 2 pieces. If you prefer, you can do the decreases. It's up to you. I did recently see on Instagram that now they make dark colored stuffing. So I have white stuffing and working with a dark yarn, so it shows through even a little bit now. But if you get some of the dark stuffing, it will hide it even better. For the stem, I'm going to attach it directly onto the dirt. But if you're not comfortable doing this, you can just work the stem by doing a chain of 10, then slip stitch join to form a ring, and then continue in pattern and sew it on later. I do not really care for hand sewing, so I'm just going to attach it here, and I'm going to do it into the post stitches from round 1 of the top piece of the dirt. In the very center is the center ring that we worked into, and then if you look, you can see a dotted edging here. That is where the stitches of round 2 were worked into, so that's the V-shape stitch there surrounding that hole. In the middle of those 2 are the posts from each of the double crochets. This is what I'm going to attach my yarn to, the posts. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to insert my hook into the space that is in between the double crochets, wrap it around the back, and then come out the space just to the left of the double crochet I have my eye on. And that's going to put the post stitch on your crochet hook. Here's my green yarn. I've made a loop with the tail end long enough I can weave in, put the loop on my hook, and pull it through. Then with the working yarn, I'm going to chain 1 and my yarn is secured. I'm going to work a single crochet around each post all the way around here of round 1 of the base. So I'm going to work a single crochet around this post that I just joined my yarn to. I'm going to insert my hook into the same space to the right of the double crochet, come around the back, and exit the space to the left, picking up the post on my hook, yarn over, pull through. There are 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Move this tail end out of my way. Insert my hook into the space to the right of the next double crochet post. It is the same stitch you just came out of, so it's really easy to see there. Wrap it around the back and exit the space to the left of the double crochet. So you have just the post stitch there on your hook. Yarn over, pull through. There are 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through both loops. Insert into that space to the right of the double crochet, which is the same one you just exited. Wrap it around the back. Come out the space to the left of the double crochet. You have the post stitch on your hook. Yarn over, pull through. 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through both loops. Right now we have 3 single crochets worked. You count them the same way with the V-shaped stitches on the top. I'm going to continue working around each post. At the end of this round, I'm going to have 10 single crochets. It's going to look like we have 11 posts because of our beginning chain 2. We're going to ignore that last stitch and we'll slip stitch join. You can take your dirt out of the cup if it's easier for you to work. You do not need to leave it in there. It already has the shape it's going to take. There's 10 single crochets. I'm going to leave that next post open and slip stitch join to the very first stitch of the round. This is the only slip stitch we're going to have of the stem. Rounds 2 through 4 are going to be worked with no join. I'm going to start with a chain 1 here. I'm going to work a single crochet into each single crochet all the way around, counting 10 stitches. There's 10 single crochets. I am not going to slip stitch join. A slip stitch at the end of each round would create a traveling seam, and I am avoiding that by no more slip stitches. So that is round 2. Round 3, I'm just going to start by single crocheting into the very next stitch and continuing to single crochet around until I have 10 completed. There's 10 single crochets complete. You may want to use a stitch marker to mark your spot so that you can mark which stitch is the first one of the round. I'm going to pull up a loop here really quick. You can also insert your hook into that first stitch and pull the beginning tail end through, and that'll mark your spot as well. And then at the end of the row you can just insert into the float there and pull it back out. There's going to be 4 rounds total, so that is the completion of round 2. I'm going to work rounds 3 and 4, just working a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. Alright, now round 4 is complete. In round 5, we're going to work the leaves. So we're going to work a single crochet around as well as add 2 leaves. I'm going to start with a chain 10. Then I'm going to work down the chain to create my first leaf. I'm going to start with a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. We don't count the loop that's on our hook. 1 chain, 2 chains. Insert right into the center and complete a slip stitch. Then I'll work a single crochet into the next stitch. Half double crochet into the next stitch. Yarn over, insert my hook into the center of the chain, yarn over, pull through. 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Then we work a double crochet into the next stitch, followed by a treble crochet into the next stitch. We yarn over 2 times, insert our hook into the center of that chain, yarn over, pull through, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Double treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over 3 times, so there will be 4 loops on your hook. Insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. 5 loops on your hook right now, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over 3 times, so there's 4 loops on your hook, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Treble crochet into the next stitch, yarn over 2 times, so there's 3 loops on your hook, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Double crochet into the last chain there. Chain 1. Slip stitch into that same exact stitch that we just worked our last double crochet. Chain 1. Rotate our piece. We're now going to work down the opposite side of the foundation chain. This is the first half of our leaf, and we're going to build the second half over here. I'm going to work a double crochet into the same exact chain. It will just be from the opposite side. Then I will work a treble crochet into the next stitch. Followed by a double treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Treble crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and then we're going to single crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, slip stitch to the very first slip stitch. It's a little bit tight, so be patient. And now we're going to work a vein up the leaf. This is going to be done by surface slip stitching, and each of those chains up the center, we're going to work a slip stitch. So I'll insert my hook into the next hole there, into the next chain, yarn over, pull through the fabric of the leaf and through the loop on my hook. Insert my hook into the next hole, the next chain there, up the center, yarn over, pull through the leaf and through the loop on my hook. Insert into the next chain, yarn over, pull through the leaf and through the loop on my hook. And continue all the way up the center of the leaf. Now I'm all the way up to the top. I'm back to the body of the stem. And I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. So you can see here where my last single crochet was, the stitch is taller. The next single crochet next to that is where I want to work my next stitch. And it's going to be a single crochet. So now the leaf is secured to the stem. I'm going to continue working here, single crochets across the stem. That's 1. I'm going to work 5 more. And now I'm going to add another leaf. We're going to start by chaining 10. And this leaf is going to be worked the same exact way as the other one. Slip stitch into the second chain from the hook, single crochet into the next chain, half double crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain, treble crochet into the next chain, double treble into each of the next 2 chains. Treble crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain, chain 1, slip stitch into that very last stitch that you just worked the double crochet into. Then we'll rotate the fabric here so we can work on the other side of the foundation chain, and double crochet into that same exact stitch. This one will just be from the opposite side. Treble crochet into the next chain, then double treble into each of the next 2 chains, then treble crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain, half double crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next chain, and then slip stitch join to the very first slip stitch, which might be tight, so just be patient. And the last step of the leaf is going to be to surface slip stitch up the center to create the vein. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the next center chain there, yarn over, pull through that, and the loop on my hook. Insert my hook into the center chain, yarn over, pull through the leaf, and through the loop on my hook. And continue working upwards. And now that I'm at the top, I want to secure my leaf. So if you're looking at the front of the pot, your first leaf is facing you. We want the second leaf to face us as well. And if we just go about it the same way, the leaf will be backwards. From the right side facing, I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the very last single crochet that I worked on the body of the stem and work a slip stitch. And that will keep that leaf facing forward the same as the other one. Now we're going to rotate to the back, pushing that leaf forward. Another effort to keep this leaf forward, I'm going to go into the same stitch that the leaf was built on, right there on the base. Insert my hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops, leave those on. Insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. That's going to be a single crochet 2 stitches together. Usually you use it for a decrease. Here I'm using it so that I can still work only 4 stitches on the side, but add that extra stitch in there for support. We're going to continue working 3 more single crochets across here. And now round 5 is complete.